It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero and Super Bowl entertainment news.
My name is Mike Royer.
And my name is Chris Dillard.
Oh, should we just go ahead and flip it? I'll say this week we're talking about MCU future rumors.
That's right.
And then you usually say a little something there.
Well,
covering Super Bowl spots for Guardians 3, Indiana Jones, The Flash, and more. This is what happens when we shift so late into the evening recording this episode, this yearly Super Bowl episode, right?
That's right. Mike jumped over a whole line that we've been doing for 8-9 years now, but it's fine. As you can tell, we do this live every week, but it's not a pre-recorded intro. But yes, we just got done. We just literally wrapped up the big game, and I'm literally still cleaning. My wife, God bless her, is cleaning the house while I'm down here.
She made like a snack Super Bowl. She made like a replica football stadium and put snacks in it. I saw on Instagram, and I learned mere moments ago. Chris told me last week he was, last minute having some people over for the Super Bowl. They were hosting. I'm like, okay, a couple people over. Just let me know there's like a dozen people in the house.
Yeah. And some people didn't show up. So
props to you for artfully, I'm sure, kicking them all out of your house and then going to your basement so you can record this with me.
Yeah, well, honestly, they all left on their own accord, so I applaud them if any of them are listening.
Unless you're like a hardcore football fan, which if you are, this game was really entertaining. Yeah. Usually the enthusiasm plummets after the halftime show, which everybody kind of knows.
We had 4 people leave at halftime after the halftime show, which... and we will talk about the game in a little bit, and then the rest of them left later. But it was a mix of family, coworkers, friends. It was a good time. So honestly, I've never had a group of people sit and actually watch the game before. But being ready for not knowing what was coming commercial wise, and what a game where literally anything could happen at any moment. Definitely a good time, but. Like you said, let's not belabor this. I'm recording late. I am definitely 100% several margaritas in at this point, and I'm drinking Terramana tequila tonight in honor of The Rock not being in the Fast 10 movie trailer. He wasn't in any trailers tonight, actually, which was surprising.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that they just unsubtly replaced him with another wrestler, John Cena. So I'm usually pretty checked out on the Fast franchise, but we'll talk about that trailer here in a little bit.
Then also The Rock and Vin Diesel had beef with each other or whatever, and they won't come back. So that's why we had the what was that one movie, Hobbs and Shaw, that did I guess okay, but as you mentioned, let's not belabor. Let's jump into this. So we just got off the big game, the Super Bowl, if you will. Congratulations, Kansas City Chiefs, for winning yet again. Literally at the last 10 seconds of the game, right?
Yeah,
they
wild Super Bowl to check out after the halftime show, which admittedly kind of what me and my wife did. We were kind of like, oh, let's go eat some food, go shower. We hadn't we hadn't really bathed all day, so this is a good time to go pop into the shower. And then I just assumed Philly had it on lock, and then I look at my phone because we had already turned it off. I'm like, wait. It's tied, and how did they get to 30 points already? The last time I looked, it was wild, man.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we had no one in here. They were like, we have no idea who to root for. So I had friends who are big Always Sunny fans, so they were like, we'll just do the Eagles because obviously Philadelphia. And I was like, well, in that case, I'll just do the Chiefs. Just that way, we have 2 different people yelling. So. I ended up coming up on top, but I did list some favorite commercials here. Commercials were. This year, I would say overall.
So I have 2 kind of running theories about the Super Bowl that I've kind of coalesced throughout the night and over the last couple of years. Right?
Don't hurt yourself, but go on.
And I think some of this is around, I saw some kind of older generation boomer Twitter accounts say something along the lines of does anyone else think these are the worst Super Bowl commercials they've ever seen or whatever? And I'm starting to think it's just a chart based on age, right? The older you get, you
That
know,
hurts.
I think
That hurts me. Thank you.
you've just kind of like seen it all. You're less impressed. You're just generally more grumpy. You just slowly morph into a Harrison Ford-esque figure, right? So a lot of these like cutting edge commercials, or like if somebody's trying to sell you like an NFT with with a QR code or whatever, like it's gonna go right above your head. You don't care anymore.
And I feel, you know, at least on the commercials we saw, we had the stream through YouTube TV. Not a lot of NFTs, you know, not a lot of, I guess, the tech companies kind of pulled back, I guess, a little bit. A lot of don't do your tax commercials, if you will, variety of those.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think they were really, I think, more conservative on the tech stuff this year. If I was,
I think the FTX scandal,
Yeah.
and just, you know, the crypto market in general being really bad kind of held off a lot of tech in general. But I think the other observation too is, as like, you know, social media just grows and grows, and you start to see just big name celebrities just more and more accessible, just like day by day, either with like tweets or Instagram stories or like TikToks, it's just less exciting to like see them in a Super Bowl commercial. Now I like Breaking Bad, right? But I feel like, how many times have they pulled Aaron Paul and what's his face who played Ryan Cranston? Like, I love those guys, right? Amazing actors, like, and I don't bemoan them for getting money from like a chip company, but that show ended like a decade ago, and they just keep pulling these dudes out to just sell shit like every 3 or 4 years.
So let me go on and my thing. So I think, you know, for me, my favorite commercials was the one with Ben Stiller doing the with Pepsi Zero, I believe, right? Redoing his old roles. The other one was the Uber and I guess Diddy doing jingles, but they pulled out a bunch of old one-hit wonders. And a lot of conversation in my house was the Clueless commercial, because she didn't say the right line at the end of it. And I'm like, all these commercials rely on one thing: nostalgia. That's all these commercials were. There was also a I like Steve Martin, but his commercial didn't draw me in as much as Ben Stiller literally pouring Pepsi Zero all over his head in his Zoolander character. But like, and you mentioned Breaking Bad, right? These are things people used to like, and I think they're just leaning into that. Like, every commercial leaned into that a little way too hard.
Yeah. Now, if you want to pivot away from like nostalgia, kind of like cameo in general, like my two favorite commercials was it Bradley Cooper and his mom
doing
that. Like, obviously it was staged, like this was the whole plan for all along, but they were just like charming. It was like fun to see them patter, like, and you can't teach, like, you know, an older parent to like put on a character, so that's just how she is. So I enjoyed that.
She looked like half the height of him too, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, those genes must be from the dad.
Yeah.
But my favorite commercial overall was the Dunkin' Donuts one with Ben Stiller, not Ben Stiller, Ben Affleck.
Well, it's even funnier because I saw, like, I guess on Reddit like a couple of weeks ago, he was like working at a Dunkin' Donuts. Everyone like, oh, he's just doing it because he likes Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. Like, it's the old meme thing, not knowing, at least myself, not knowing that these candid people, like, it wasn't an ad, it was actually like people going to this Dunkin', not knowing it was for a commercial that would come out later.
Yeah. Now, Chris, since you seem to be a slightly more of a completionist with maybe the commercials more than I did, was there a follow-up commercial past that one Maya Rudolph M&M commercial?
There was the M&Ms are back. Yes, they were like, this doesn't work out. Now the M&Ms are back. Literally, like we predicted weeks ago. It was just a thing.
Now I'll have to watch the part 2 commercial to, I guess, fully render my judgment. But based on that one commercial, I was like, this is awful. Like, I have nothing against them like playing with the whole controversy or drama, but I was just like, what's the joke? Like, okay, they replaced the name with her name, and then now they're like seafood candies. Like, it just didn't make any sense. It was just like random for the sake of being random, you know?
Well, the part of, I guess the first commercial was like, it was like, we changed it and change is bad. Like, this is disgusting. Nobody likes this. Like, we did change for change's sake. And the other one's like, okay, well, the change didn't work. We are back. And so
it's like, I understand it's a commercial, but like, I almost need a little bit more setup to the story. Like, why does Maya Rudolph like clams? You know, it just doesn't make any sense.
And I think to me that's part of the problem, right? I saw the Breaking Bad commercial running on like on several sites for 2 weeks before it came out.
Oh, yeah, the Clueless commercial. That was running
Yeah.
between my YouTube videos all weekend. So
Yeah.
a lot of these things weren't exclusive,
So-
really, except for the trailers that we're going to talk about. Well,
Yeah.
barring one of them.
And M&M's is the other. Like, I'm like, I don't want setup. I don't want a lifetime story of a. I don't need to know a pre-commercial to watch a commercial, right? I think at that point you've ruined the idea of surprise and like putting it like telling a quick story in 30 to 60 seconds. So to me, I mean, I think the Breaking Bad, the M&M's, and obviously the Planters, the roast of the Planters peanut. Was really disappointing because they had a lot of build up, and then you had to watch the spot and then watch something afterwards.
Oh my
get the whole
God! Yeah,
story.
I was in the kitchen, so I just heard the commercials, and it was like, scan this QR code to see the full roast of Mr. Peanut. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. There's no way that is going to be funny enough for me to follow a QR code to go to it. But I guess real quick, we should just render opinions on the halftime show. I think we both share similar opinions when it comes to halftime show, whereas like the music is nominal to me, right? I don't even necessarily care who the artists or what the songs are or the performers. I'm really looking out for like spectacle and cameos. And
You got nothing.
last
did you?
Super,
You're really
la-
disappointed this year.
yeah, last Super Bowl was great. Tons of cameos. I like the spectacle. Previous to that, it was The Weeknd, and it was just all Weeknd. No cameos. They got some memes out of his whole like mirror room, right? So I kind of got vibes to that. Like Rihanna's like great. It was fun to see her Super Smash Brothers level that she was pulling around with the strings. It was fine. Nothing to nothing to write home about. Nothing super memorable, right? But success. She's mounting a comeback, I suppose.
Well, to me, I guess mainly coming. She's not done a live show in 7 years. She hasn't released music in 5 or more years, right, until Black Panther. So I think if you want, and obviously she announced her pregnancy at the show, like at the live performance. So no, barring all, knowing all this, I think she did a great job. There was nothing, like you said, to write home about, but nothing like I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, right? I think she puts on a great show. Her music runs together really, really well. I was just more impressed with having these floating, not podiums, but they were literally lifting up like the platforms up in the air. I'm like, holy shit, like this scaring me. And I'm watching hers like wobble. I'm like, you got to really be focused on your like vocals to nail that.
Yeah.
So.
And she's like pregnant on top of all that too.
Yeah.
I mean, as the kids would say, she slayed for sure. But usually in a Super Bowl performance, I want to see like just something like absolute like buck wild. I want to see like cameos from like just like random performers that were never announced. So maybe they're on like an every other year schedule for that, right? Like next year we'll get like crazy cameos.
Well, this was the first, also I guess, halftime show sponsored by Apple Music, right? And I was like, oh. Obviously, like the internet, I'm like, bring Tom Holland out during Umbrella. I think that would be funny. That would be hilarious. Or, there's Love the Way You Lie with Eminem. I'm like, okay, bring him out. He's a big name as well for like a single song. But they really just, I guess maybe, and I don't know if it was the stadium, NFL, the stadium, or Apple, who really just played close to their chest, right, the whole way. And I'm like, well, close to your chest is fine, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think there's going to be any, as we call it, legs about the halftime show this year. No one's going to really be talking about it tomorrow or any day after this at the end of the day. And that's not bad, but I know what you're saying. You want something that you can talk about tomorrow at work. You're like, did you see the halftime show? Did you see so and so? You're like, you can't really have that here.
I tell you what, Arizona must not have any fireworks regulations.
Yeah.
Because at one point in time, it looked like that stadium was engulfed in flames.
The roof of it, like all the fireworks, and even I think
like,
it
oh
cut
my
to her
God.
looking up at them. I'm like, that's probably pretty scary. Like, but
I mean, if you were lucky enough to be in that stadium, I'm sure you had a great time. But
absolutely.
After all, we check in to the Super Bowl mainly for movie trailers.
Yes.
So let's kind of get this Ant-Man thing out of the way, and then we'll jump into these trailers.
There was an Ant-Man TV spot, but I don't think it really revealed anything new, right?
There was also like a Heineken commercial, which I had seen on the internet previous.
Yeah, the Heineken zero alcohol, right? So alcohol-free Heineken that's been going around with Ant-Man. So that was there. Really nothing new, but it is that time of the week where we say Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is coming to theaters this week. I will be seeing it myself on Thursday, Mike. I don't know when your tickets are. I forgot to ask whenever.
It'll be a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
We had scheduling conflicts on Thursday,
Yeah.
which made things rough. So hopefully nothing super big breaks through my timeline. But Saturday morning, I'll be checking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So spoiler warning, for next week, I'll be watching it, and then probably actually going to see my buddy Patrick. Patrick. So spend the weekend with him at his place. So. Very excited to watch this movie, but if you don't want to say, again, avoid all the spoilers, start blocking those keywords again on all your social channels, and we'll talk about it next week when we come back to review it with you guys. So, so let's jump into the game spot. So I think one of the earlier ones that I remember, Mike, was the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 TV spot that tells you that there is a full trailer online. So we're back to the era like, hey, we're announcing the trailer that you need to go watch somewhere else. So that's fine. Whatever. We've linked the Super Bowl big game trailer, whatever you want to call it, in our show notes, and you can check it out now. In true James Gunn fashion, it has a very obscure 80s sounding rock song over some very, very emotional beats. We've seen some of these, but there's a fuzzy creature called Blurp. I want to call this out. This is taking over the internet. You saw Blurp, the little fuzzy dude?
Yeah, there was like a quick shot. They're just kind of like chilling.
Yes. So obviously, there's a lot of like Rocket's history being brought up here. Lila, someone is gonna die. Obviously, this movie is setting people up to die. We don't know who. It could be Rocket. It could be Drax. It could be literally. There was a scene where people, depressed. Star-Lord wasn't it? It could be Star-Lord. So I don't know what's going on.
There's a scene where the Guardians are walking all in like a conga line, and they're carrying Peter. I think Nebula is carrying like Peter in her arms. So somebody's definitely going to be croaking for sure, and they want you to speculate the whole time. So odds are probably not Gamora because it's already happened. So and Groot. And then Groot as well, right? Because we've already kind of seen Groot come back to life. So, my money's just on Drax. It just makes the most sense. He's got the most. He's got the. Not to sound mean, he's got the least to live for, I guess. He doesn't really have a lot of
his story arc
family.
has really come through, right? Like literally, like he is not the same character we met in Guardians 1, and like I said, I think it would be a great send-off for him to be with his family in the end. So
and also the trailer doesn't really reveal a whole lot. Not a lot of new shots or locations, but they do kind of set up an extra scene where at the beginning where Drax is like pissing off Peter because he's on that on
a couch, not
that
bed.
couch, and then Drax also kind of like in the earlier trailer throws like a basketball at a child's face, so maybe they're setting up this conflict of like Drax and Peter not getting along, which makes it even worse, and something bad happens later in the movie. So but not a whole lot to pull from this trailer.
There's some more Adam Warlock shots. It looks like that town with the I guess anthropomorphized or humanized animals are with him. Some of the regular forms of the high evolutionary where he looks like a normal person and not like with the weird suit on. So like I said, we couldn't pull anything out of this, but it does seem to really lean on that. The Guardians, they are a very weird group of people who get along because they're all outcast rather than they're all like Avengers, right? And I think one of the two funny, you mentioned the first funny part, the Drax and the couch, but the other one is like, hey, this girl Gamora you mentioned sounds just like Nebula, and you're right, Nebula has evolved into sounding like what Gamora was before she died. And he's like, oh, you do look beautiful with your black eyes. And I'm like, yes, of course, Peter, the thinking with his junk again, back to that. So overall, very, very excited for this movie, right? I don't think we'll probably do for one more trailer before it comes out, right? The buy your tickets trailer, but like nothing much else here other than, hey, here's your quirky rock song, and here's your team of a-holes back in action again. Trailer I kind of guess I knew but didn't know was coming was a quick spot, a 30-second spot for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Right?
Yeah.
That movie's coming out this year.
Yeah, this is probably the most kind of classic Super Bowl style trailer, before the internet really took off, man, which is going to make me sound old. You used to just get like 30-second trailers, right? You didn't get anything else. There was no call to action to go watch the longer version of the trailer. So yeah, this is just 30 seconds. Big game spot, as you have here in our show notes, which makes the most sense there. A little bit more action. It looks like Indy gets trapped in some way, and his goddaughter comes to try to save him. I do like the dissing of Nazis at the beginning of the trailer. I'm always on board with that. So if they want to lean into that, if they just give me 2 hours of Nazis getting punched in the face, I'll be down.
Yeah, I think to me there's a lot of de-aged Indiana in this spot, more than I thought we would get. Right, so like how much young Indiana Jones or younger are we going to be actually seeing in this movie at the end of the day, right? How much is present day? How much is previous Indiana Jones journeys catching up with him? Because it looks like he has been, fighting Mads Mikkelsen over, several decades.
Harrison Ford has been doing some press for his show Shrinking, which I mentioned last week on the podcast, and I've seen some clips out there online, and it is like, it's terrifying to watch this man get interviewed. Like, I'm just like, it's just so uncomfortable because you can tell he doesn't want to be there, but he's being a good sport, showing up. But it's just like, he's just like begging for somebody to just like, can we just like talk about like airplanes or something? I'd rather talk about anything else but like movies and TV.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and he's got that new show, right? What's that called that you're watching? Shrinking out. So he's doing that. They're like, hey, tell us about your Marvel time. And he's like, we haven't done anything. What do you want me to tell you? Like, I signed on to a contract with them. Yep, I'm gonna be in their movie. But you're like, okay. But it was fun because I was telling people at my party, I'm like, oh yeah, Harrison Ford will be in Marvel, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's sadly replacing the late William Hurt, but it's cool that he's joining in that role, kind of thing. So. But yeah, Harrison Ford, big comeback for Harrison Ford here in past couple of years. So cross our fingers for him. In one of the, I think I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. The biggest letdown of the Super Bowl for TV spots was the Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Literally, we get this car saying, "Hey, I'm Mirage," and "Hey, I'm Mirage." Remember, in this trailer, in this 30-second spot, I'm like, what the fuck are you trying to do to me? Like, this is like the most disappointing trailer I've seen ever. Yeah, it's like Rise of the Beast, and you get one shot of Optimus Primal. That's it.
Yeah, there was like nothing new compared to the last footage that we got. I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on here. So I think we can move past that one.
Well, yeah, and this is to me, Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Who is Paramount own that? Who owns Transformers?
I don't like. Isn't it Hasbro? It's just like give us like one additional beast, right?
Yeah,
we couldn't get one new beast up in this,
right? Exactly. Yeah, I mean we know the four that are in there, so let's see like a Rhinox transformation, right, or a Cheetor transformation. Do it for the beast, but no, they really just kind of let us down. And I would say I thought the Paramount trailer was kind of fun. What's his name? Mount Stallone was a little funny for a trailer.
Oh, the sneeze commercial, yeah.
It wasn't the best, but it was funny because it's just like, this is stupid. Like, I was like, this is kind of dumb. But anyway, Transformers, moving on to the trailer that wasn't the trailer for this weekend, and that is the Fast 10 trailer that we got to watch because they were like, hey, do you want to do the Fast 10 trailer? Because we're going to release like 2 days before
oh my god!
The thing, and then you get a little bitty like teaser during the game.
The Fast X trailer has already had like a full news cycle before we even got to see the teaser in the Super Bowl. I tried to wait, right? I was like, I'm just gonna wait because I saw it all weekend. I was like, let's just see if I can get surprised on Super Bowl Sunday. And no, people had all of these like deep dives and Easter eggs and like reactions. So I just watched it like a couple hours before the game started. And I mean, I'm not a Fast franchise person, but I knew to look out for that. People were saying Jason Momoa was kind of being retconned into the franchise, and then once they pulled that safe away from the wall from I think it was Fast 5, and like Jason Momoa was just like standing in the wall, I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah.
I just kind of laughed.
Jason Momoa's dad was the villain for Fast 5 is what it comes out to be, and you're like, what the hell? Like, everybody's always retconned in these movies, right? He's there the whole time, and he does that big villain like he's licking a bloody knife, right? At some point,
he's like, I'm gonna kill everything and your family, and I'm gonna make you watch.
Yeah. You think you're protecting family? Well, let me tell you about family. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be wild.
I mean, it's been a minute since I've watched any of these movies, but like they tease like a race, like an actual race in this movie, and it's just like, well, it's been a while, I think, since that's happened. So it's like, is Momoa like psychotic enough to like agree to like, oh no, I'll stop coming after you with like helicopters and machine guns. Let's just have an old fashioned race.
Oh, I think he's gonna start with the race. But the one thing in the spot that I didn't really get in the trailer was like, you forgot one thing. To take my car. I'm like, oh my god. And then he drives it off the Hoover Dam or whatever. I'm like, they are really, I thought them jumping buildings in Saudi Arabia was wild. I'm like, this is just getting out of control. They're bringing back every character that has been in this movie franchises in here. I saw Jason Statham. They're bringing back, what's her name? Furia from Mad Max. Charlize Theron.
Yeah, that's it.
They got Brie Larson. They got Jason Momoa. It's just wild. There was a lot more car action in this than the Transformers spot, which is really funny because that's got cars and Transformers. And I'm just like, I don't think I'll watch it in theaters, but I'm interested because this is the next to last one, right? According to them, if they do this,
it's
properly.
nice. Yeah, I think John Cena is the only really major pull into this franchise for me at this point in time. But I mean, it seems like, if you're kind of ending this weird franchise, maybe do they kill off Dom, the main character, maybe in the last movie? I'm sure. Like, it's kind of weird, right? He's not allowed to like lose a fight, but like, do you think that would be the ultimate sacrifice for his character?
Yeah,
like,
but
no, I'll go on my terms.
But he's got like a kid or whatever. I feel like, I don't know. They might try to figure out a way to like, I don't know, maybe like the Dark Knight, was it the Dark Knight Returns or what, the Dark Knight Rises, like where he supposedly dies, like he quote unquote kills himself so he can like go live off grid forever with his family.
They'll drag him back out in 10 years to make another one.
A couple. Yeah, they'll fast. What was it? The third one, Tokyo Drift him, where they'll like do a whole movie and then bring him in the credits. Overall, there's really nothing here that seemed new for the Fast franchise. You just all a bunch of familiar faces, a bunch of cars. I think you nailed it. The only thing that they haven't done in years is actually do a car race, and they look like they're doing a car race.
In classic Fast style, there is a few frames in the trailer of just butts. Yeah. So going back to their roots.
Yeah, exactly. I will say one of the funniest things I've seen in this is where they take the episode of Seinfeld where Jerry's date thinks he was picking his nose in the car beside her, and have put that into where like they're doing the car lineup, the car race. So it looks like he's like in the car turning towards it. So like they're memeing the hell out of this trailer already online, Mike, and that's.
Oh, okay.
that's the best part of it to me along the way. So, check out that link for the full trailer for Fast 10 in the show notes. Let's get into this. I think we're gonna have the most to say about this trailer, Mike. Here, this is the last trailer we'll talk about, but I think the one we've been sitting anxiously awaiting since we started this podcast.
Would you say this is the flashiest trailer of the night?
Oh my god! Wow, the roles have turned. You reverse our intro, and now you're taking my bad jokes right out from under me.
That's right.
Well, yes, I would say we got flashed. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. At this, so earlier this week we had a teaser poster. We'll start with that for the. I've actually got the wrong link in here. I need to fix this.
I'll describe it to the audience. It is the Flash. In a very, very wide shot, looking off into the distance, and then there's a big old Batwing hovering over his head, a la classic Michael Keaton Batwing.
Yeah, so he's
signaling, if anything, a trailer incoming.
Yeah, that's right. So I think the other thing to say is he is in the classic Bat Cave, right, from Tim Burton's Batman, and his suit is very Tron-y, right? Like the red lines all over it look very Tron-esque, if you will. At the end of the day, so very cool. But this trailer I can't quite wrap my head around what is happening with this movie.
Man,
but boy, is it fun.
It was wild. If we didn't get this trailer kind of this magnitude, I would say like overall the kind of like the media blitz in general for the Super Bowl kind of would have been like a bummer for me, right? Yeah. And we've been all over on this movie on the podcast. If you've been a long time listener, ups and downs all around for this movie, like wow. So it's nice to finally see like some concrete footage, and this looks fun as hell, right? Yeah. You know, of course, tons of drama focusing around the main star of the movie and also the implications of like where this even fits into the universe. Yeah, right. How much
this has gone through a dozen directors. Who knows how many writers? Zack Snyder's out. Zack Snyder's in. You know, a whole new DC universe. Warner Brothers has been bought by another company. This is not even the first time we saw Ben Affleck tonight, right? Like he was in a Dunkin' commercial. So, go on. Tell me what you got out of this.
It was wild. It was fun. So many set pieces, so many moments, so many clippable, screenshotable moments, which I could say we didn't really get in really any Guardians trailer, even the one that we had previous to this, right? You know, I would say that those Guardians trailers have been very, very emotional, signaling, you know, the end of like a trilogy for these characters. So I understand that it is different, but this is just kind of like introducing like a whole new line of action, right, for the Flash moving forward. He is all over the place in this trailer. We get to see, like you said, 2 different Batman. On top of that, we get to see a Supergirl, and then Supergirl's like going crazy, like in and out of her uniform. There's lots of shots of lightning. There's this really cool shot where you finally get to see a brief glimpse of that other Flash that is in like an old bat suit, and they kind of like go foot to foot and like push off of each other, which is like super cool. It's kind of nice seeing, I guess a sanitized kind of Barry Allen, Ezra Miller in a way where I can just enjoy the character and I can just like zone out and put my blinders on and I don't see like, you know, the news headlines around it. Like I can just enjoy it for like what it is, which sometimes is hard to do. But yeah, I just had a lot of fun watching this trailer, and I just hope it all works out, right? I just hope it all works out in the end.
I think the fun is tied to two parts here, Mike. One is the unpredictability of this, right? Like, I could not have told you a single goddamn thing I saw in this before we saw the trailer, right? Like, of course we know there's 2 Barry Allens, we know there's Supergirl, but like, we know I didn't realize we were going to have 2 action scenes with Batman. Like, Michael Keaton's Batman does this thing where he lands, like, stands up and like beats these guy's ass in like a tube, and that looks really cool. We see Ben Affleck on like a bike and like talking to Barry. We get to see, like, we get to relive Man of Steel a little bit, right? With Zod coming to Earth.
Oh,
and,
God,
like,
yeah. Totally forgot to talk about Zod, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, we knew Zod was here, but, like, we didn't know what part. So, like, yes, we get to see Michael Shannon return to Zod. There's a point where there's a Pacific Rim poster on the wall, too, in Barry's room, by the way, which I thought was really fun. A lot of lightning, a lot of explosions, a lot of action. I think the cool part there was, I guess maybe... It looks like the reveal of, I guess, Sasha Calle's Supergirl with Batman and like the snow at the end there. Like she kind of takes out, like, you know, the Flash's like, "What do we do, Batman?" He's like, "Don't try not to die." Then he like lowers his fist and there's Supergirl. And like, holy shit, this is gonna be cool. Because I think he probably says him. We had no idea what we were gonna get out of this. But a lot of it was really cool, right? Like a lot of like fan, like geeky moments here.
Yeah, and I guess it's not entirely sure maybe how many worlds, or is he visiting, like obviously he's messing with the timeline, right? But he must be visiting other worlds, right? If we're seeing other versions of Batman, right? So there's going to be 2 kind of types of traversal of like time and worlds, and there is a line in the trailer where he says he's created like a world without any metahumans as well. So is that the kind of world that James Gunn is building into or not, or is that just going to be like a temporary thing? But as we've said a lot on the show. There's this magnificent power behind the Flash that can undo and redo just about anything. So the sky's the limit, right?
Absolutely. And I think the other half is not just, the unpredictability, is the, again, nostalgia factor, right? How many people are like, oh my gosh, Michael Keaton as Batman, the old Batwing, the old, we get to see the rubber suit, multiple times, a bunch of bat suits, and him back in action, like, hell yeah, like this is cool to go back and get him again, right, as that Batman. So I think to me, that I think it's like a perfect storm, if you will, of absolutely wildness kind of going on with this movie, and bringing the hype to a new level. I think people, I've looked online, a lot of people, I wouldn't say have poured over this yet, but they will be pouring over this frame by frame to figure out what's going on. But I could also be like, absolutely, what we see in this trailer is not what we're going to get in the movie, right? They could recut, rearrange things before it releases.
Also, I don't like necessarily where this strategy is going with releases, right? Releasing the Fast X trailer a couple days ahead of time, okay, that's one type of annoyance. But the Flash trailer was available online, I think like an hour or so before kickoff even happened, and then we got the teaser trailer for it. Maybe in the first quarter. I don't 100% remember. It was definitely the first half of the game.
Pretty early, yeah.
Yeah, so I was already seeing screenshots and reactions and everything on Twitter before the game even started. So I was like, wait, did I miss something already? So I wish they would just stick to posting the trailer after the teaser had launched, right? Because you got your dynamics all over the place, right? I'm trying to keep up with the Super Bowl memes, but at the same time I'm seeing screenshots of Michael Keaton, and it's too confusing for me.
Well, you can take my approach. I didn't watch any trailer until the game was over. I was like, I'm gonna wait and then watch them all at once.
Not a bad idea.
And it's worked out for me, because I'm like, okay, what are people actually saying I need to watch? What was a spot versus what was a trailer? And that's really kind of helped me here. But I think the last thing, this is before the trailer dropped, this was news this week, was that the Flash, supposedly the ending has been rewritten, or I guess re-edited with the footage they have, and all DCEU cameos were removed. But as this trailer has proven, the DCEU cameos were not removed at all. There's a lot of Ben Affleck in here, and Ben Affleck is Batman in here. So I'm starting to say that this news that I heard about the ending even be written, I'm going to leave it in here, probably false stuff. I bet they're going to leave it as is and then move forward as they need to, right, with it, because
it must be very confusing for Ben Affleck, right? He's like, so am I Batman or not? How often I'm going to be dragged out into this suit? I can only do so much CrossFit. I can't perpetually stay in shape.
My guess is they were done with him last year and he knew it, but at this point he's just like, I'll go work at Dunkin' and film that for a little bit. But honestly, I honestly think everyone who has been is going to be used going forward probably already knows. But since they filmed this so long ago, they're probably just going to keep it in there. I just want to know if they're going to put him in Aquaman, I guess, right? That's my big question, is will Ben Affleck make it to Aquaman or not? But, we don't know that. All we have is the Flash. And honestly, again, we are no strangers from eating crow here at Superhero Slate. Will this be the best movie ever? As James Gunn said, I doubt it, but but I will give them full on credit for having the best superhero movie trailer of the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, Chris, the world's crazy right now. There's if you're here in the States, UFOs above every square mile. It seems like. Fighter jets shooting stuff down above farmland. We're wilding out around here, so I suppose a positive Flash trailer. There was a train derailment in Ohio that's killing all the wildlife. So I suppose a surprising Flash trailer is not the wildest thing that's happening right now.
No, not at all, not at all. And also, we could use something new. I think everything else seemed, correct me if I'm wrong, everything else seemed familiar, and that's not necessarily a compliment. All the time.
Yes.
So let's jump into I think that's it for trailers. We might bring up some more spots if we think of them, but let's jump into the regular news that we had already written before all this come out, and that is Constantine 2, right? The sequel to Keanu Reeves' Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves and the director, can't remember his name, returning. There was a lot of discourse this week about they didn't announce it last week, right? James Gunn didn't say it, so it's not happening. And then there was some people at Warner Brothers or Discovery, whoever, came out and said, actually, this is still in the works. Keanu Reeves will still, we're still working on Constantine 2. It's just not even though Constantine's a DC character, we're not putting it in the DC universe. It can live as a sequel to its legacy film, right, beforehand.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got from it. And even when the original Constantine came out, I don't think anybody even portended to put it in a kind of a DC adjacent universe. It was just like, let's just make kind of like a cool, spooky horror action movie, and that was kind of about it.
I had no idea it was even a DC property back then, right? Like, I was too young. The internet wasn't much of a thing for us, and I'm like, I had no idea they were even doing that. So to me, that was pretty cool, and you know, that's the best part. It was a standalone movie. It doesn't need to rely on the DC universe to be a successful film, and that's okay with me for that to exist. So if we hear anything else, we'll let you guys know.
You know what? Know what's funny though? If this sequel comes out and everybody like loves it and it makes a ton of money, I guarantee they find a way to put it in the DC universe, right? Because that's how Hollywood works.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine if they bring it in later. I think that would work as long as you're not trying to shoehorn it in now, right? Like, hey, this whole movie, the whole crux of this gods and monsters, reason. So if it comes out successful, they put him in Swamp Thing as an end credit scene. I'd love it. I think that'd be fantastic. That'd be the best way to do it without having to make his whole movie be in the DC universe proper. But anyway, Disney as a whole came out with they actually had a whole spot at the Super Bowl, right? Disney 100, right? Had all their movies and you know, the big franchises, which I thought was the stupidest spin for a company ever. I only say this because everyone knows who Disney is, right? Like, we know who you are. You don't have to promote your 100th year because people are going to go watch your $1 billion movies. Like, you don't need to put Avatar 2 in here. It made $2 billion. I think you're fine. But if they want to go, you know, toot their own horn for being around a company's 100 years, that's fine. But they also announced some really bad news. You know, there's some layoffs, companies restructuring, kind of shitty stuff. But we were able to pull out some movie news at I guess, to me, the first one, Toy Story sequel announced, is kind of unnecessary news, right?
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 was fine. Don't get me wrong. We've talked about that. Like, it was a sequel that, you know, it didn't need to happen, but they did a good job with it. But I'm like, stop doing this. Like, it ends on a really good note. We don't need to keep going with Toy Story.
Yeah, unless like is the strategy here keep making Toy Story movies until they sunset like all of the characters, right? You know, Woody and Bo Peep that kind of rode off into the sunset at the end of the fourth movie. Like, they can't come back. They shouldn't come back. It would be narratively disingenuous to do that, right? So
it only works once, like, and they did it with Bo Peep in that movie. So you don't need to do it again.
So, like, in the fifth one, do you do it with Buzz? Is it like, is it like Mr. Potato Head? Is it Slinky Dog? You know, what exactly is it? I don't think this one needs to happen.
Yeah, and the only thing I think that would work well is the idea, again, toys are kind of being phased out, right, in our modern era. You don't buy a lot of toys. I don't buy a lot of toys either. These days, you go to the toy store, they kind of suck. But, like, you know, comparing toys being purchased in 1994 to 2024, a whole different world. So, you know, Buzz dealing with that would be interesting. But also, really sour taste in my mouth over Lightyear, right? Like, and only because I don't think the movie's bad. It's the message at the start of the movie, like, this is the movie that Andy watched in 1994 that made him buy this toy figure. I'm like, no, it's not. No kid in 1994 watched this movie with this amount of heart and emotion and decided to buy a toy about it, right? Like, they wanted the Buzz Lightyear Star Command TV show where they were just out blasting evil aliens, you know, nameless baddies forever. So to me, it kind of sucks. But yeah, Toy Story I think is very I guess we don't need it. At the end of the day, we'll say we'll be wrong in a couple of years, 100%, but it's fine. Frozen 3 announced. Not really surprised here, Mike. I think this is honestly they took a long time between 1 and 2, so I'm surprised 3's coming this fast. But
I want some Frozen redemption.
Yeah,
I like the first movie. Did not like the second movie. Give me some redemption in this third one. Figure your story out. please, before you start working on your movie. And that's not just conjecture for me. They did the behind the scenes for Frozen 2, and they straight up have footage of them in meetings going like, oh, we have to figure out why Elsa is singing this song or why she's even over here, like in this dark cave. It's like, you should have figured that out before you started animating the movie, fools. So hopefully they've learned from their lesson and they'll give me a better Frozen movie.
I didn't mind Frozen 2, but also I don't care about either one of them enough to care about Frozen as a franchise. But knowing that is like one of the biggest moneymaker, I guess, Disney original stories, like, yeah, do your third one and get it done right. Like I think the world of Frozen's interesting, right? This universe that they're in, about magic and these two worlds. What's your villain going to be? Figure it out. Let us know what it is. Is it a fire villain? Because everybody loves a goddamn fire villain for the third movie.
Did you? I think maybe it's Epcot. I don't remember, but there's like a Frozen dark ride in Florida. Did you ride it when you were there?
Not this year, but we rode it several years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched a ride through for it on YouTube. It looks kind of cool. Looks kind of fun.
It's a water log ride similar to Pirates of the Caribbean, if you will. But it does have a part where you go up to Elsa and then it actually like shifts and you go backwards in the log ride down a hill, and that's pretty cool. Because you're in the dark, you don't know what's happening, but it's really I don't mind the Frozen ride at all at Epcot. Very worth the wait in the ride there. And lastly, Zootopia. I watched Zootopia. My wife put it on the TV when she was going to bed the other night for the first time. I haven't watched it since it came out. I don't care for Zootopia as a whole.
Oh, boo!
I know,
boo. Zootopia is great. It's a treasure. I love that movie. I want them to turn it into like a video game because all the little biomes. It's great. I won't stand for the Zootopia slander, Chris.
Well, I didn't care because there's so much at once. I'm like, it'd be great if they had I think a better focus on this world. They throw a lot at you really quickly. I think it deserves the time and attention for
Chris,
that. Right?
Did you not listen to the Shakira song in the movie? It says "try everything." That is the motto for the song.
It's like going to a buffet for the very first time, and you're like, I want one of everything. You're like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what I want.
Don't say buffet, Chris. You're making me hungry.
Well, good. I'm glad somebody is, because it's almost Monday here, and so that's fine. But like Zootopia, honestly, I know they had those Disney Plus shorts, right? Zootopia Plus on Disney Plus. Really surprised that, again, it took this long to get Zootopia sequel moving in production. So
yeah, but overall, the kind of opinion for Disney moving forward, it seems like from the crowd out there, is that they're going to be like kind of focusing a little bit more. So I'm not surprised that they're like, let's take these proven franchises, sequelize them more, because we know that they'll make money.
I think the message overall from the temporary CEO Bob Iger, maybe permanent, at this rate, is that content, right? They want to get back to the being content storytellers, which they felt they really lost under what's the other Bob's name? The bad
Chapek.
Bob. Yeah, Bob Chapek. So I think they've now got some. They split off they split up the distribution or the creation. There's like two different people now, so they can do storytelling. Great stories make your movies better. So let's focus on those, and maybe, like you said, Mike, we'll get some better Frozen sequels and some good Toy Story and Zootopia stuff. So we'll keep you posted. More comes out of that. Let's shift back into Marvel, because that's what we're here for. Deadpool 3. Patrick Stewart, he's doing his rounds because of that Picard show going out, right? He's doing. I think he has been told to stand by in case they need him for Deadpool 3. So there's an opportunity to do one more cameo from Patrick Stewart in Deadpool 3 for this.
Let's do it. Let's kind of wrap up this. I'm not trying to be mean, but let's wrap up this ancient X-Men franchise, right? Yeah. That's been around since the statues at Easter Island, and press on forward.
Well, it's funny because, I think they did a really good job with Tobey Maguire coming back as Spider-Man, but they've really beaten this X-Men stuff with a dead, as a dead horse. They literally, anytime they can bring back Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, they're like, yep, let's do it. Because he even returned Doctor Strange a year ago, right? Like, he's been in the MCU very recently as Professor X. I think the only thing I did see here, it was a rumor, I didn't put it in here because it didn't hold any weight, but I would like to see is bring Magneto into one of these films instead, right? Like, wouldn't you like to see like a return of Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender as Magneto in a good thing? Because I think they did great in their roles.
Does Deadpool have metal in him? I'm trying to remember.
No, but Wolverine's with him.
Yeah. I was just trying to remember, like, is it, like, I know he's kind of, like, been beaten and battered, but he regenerates, so there wouldn't be, like, metal screws in his bones or anything. No. Yeah, so I guess Deadpool, if he takes the swords off, right, maybe takes some of the ammo belts off, you know, he can go at Ian McKellen.
Yeah, exactly. Or I don't even know if they get McKellen. They might get Fassbender just to split up their X-Men franchises a bit, but either way, I think, you know, Professor X is obviously a staple of the X-Men, right? His name's in it, but, like, bring some other people into this. I think that's where you get some fun and tell some really good stories with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Let's get into this juicy MCU story real fast, Mike. This was fun. There's some I guess maybe Bob Iger, he's out doing some stuff. I don't know why he's telling stories. Maybe it was Ant-Man. I think it might have been Ant-Man. But he's telling a story about how in 2015 Ike Perlmutter, the notoriously awful person running Marvel Entertainment, tried to fire Kevin Feige over, I think that maybe it was a Civil War movie or something like that. And that's when Iger had to step in and literally was like, all right, Kevin, we're going to put you under Marvel, the people at Disney Film as Marvel Studios, because Ike Perlmutter is a crazy fucking nutcase who supports Nazis. So
it must have been some sort of weird internal struggle, because it seems like this possibly would have happened around 2015, which I know I wasn't a big fan of Age of Ultron that came out in 2015, but I don't know if I would have been calling for Feige to be fired or removed. So
it was so Perlmutter. My understanding of this is the chairman at Marvel Entertainment was like jealous of like how much success like and money Marvel Studios was getting. Not necessarily like how bad he was doing, but he was like very much like what's the guy's name at Sony who wants all the credit for all the Avi Aaron, yeah, exactly. So he was the same things, doing the same thing and trying to do that. I'm pretty sure he maintained control over Marvel Television until like 2019 or so. So we can blame all the horrible TV shows that Jeff Loeb did to Perlmutter as well for that. It's just this is the same guy who fired Terrence Howard, and they were like, get Don Cheadle because quote unquote, and I'm quoting him, black people look the same. And I'm like, you are an awful person. Like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't even know what he's still doing over there.
Nobody thinks about him. He's not a household name. He's just an old, crotchety man, just, degrading due to the causes of nature. So bye-bye, Perlmutter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he might still be the head of Marvel Entertainment, which sucks. But I'm also not out buying their comic books at this point. But yeah, absolutely.
He's 80 years old, so we won't have to deal with this racist for much longer.
I really, really hope not. I think again, Bob Iger, very smart man. I think he's run the company at Disney very well. Right, we've seen a lot of success, growth, biggest purchase with Fox. Really smart putting Marvel Studios under their studio banner.
Kevin Feige's 49. Not too bad. His birthday's June 2nd. He'll be turning 50.
Wow.
Good for him.
Wow. I mean, if he retired this year, which he won't, obviously, he needs to see this, Secret Wars through. But like, if he was like, I'm out, most successful man I've ever met. I've never met. So
I've been thinking about that a little bit. Yeah. How long does Feige, go on for with the MCU? Because I mean, it's a dream job, right? He's doing a good job. So like, do you just ride that out until like, your retirement age? Yeah. Like, what is the retirement age in Hollywood, right? Obviously, he could have retired many movies ago and been fine. So do you go to like the typical U.S. retirement age, which I think is like 67 and a half, right?
Yeah.
So I love the idea of Kevin Feige collecting Social Security checks.
If Ike Perlmutter's 80 and still running Marvel Entertainment, I think he's got some wheels left in him.
You got a point.
The other thing, which is I'm gonna break here a little bit. I was thinking about this, the way DCEU with Gunn and what's his name, Safran are moving forward is very interesting because it's like the original Marvel Studios model, right? Do you know Warner Bros. Only put 2 movies in theaters this year? or in 2022. They only put 2 movies. One was one was Black Adam, and the other one was that movie with Florence Pugh that didn't do well, Harry Styles.
Don't worry, darling.
Yeah, those are the only 2 movies Warner Brothers put in theaters in 2022. So the not the theory, but people in Hollywood are like, Warner Brothers has no money to make movies anymore. So what they're doing for the DC going forward is borrowing money like Marvel did for Iron Man and the Hulk, and banking on it being a success. If it's a success, they see returns, they get more money to make the next movies. So if James Gunn's Superman doesn't fly, literally and figuratively...
Are you writing the headline already?
Well, yeah, and this is just because I was following the trade stuff, the news over there rather than rumor. But like, if it doesn't get off the ground in 2 movies, like they don't have enough money to continue making DC movies over there, as James Gunn sees. So this is a very a big risk, right? A very big risk for them to do that. So, it's just very interesting to hear that, because Kevin Feige was able to do that, thankfully back in 2008, 2009, with those movies. So anyway, shifting gears, in case anyone didn't know, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is now on Disney Plus. Had a friend of mine at work actually watch it for the first time. Everyone told him not to watch it. They were like, we like Morbius better than we like Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I told him, like, you don't need that negativity in your life. Like, these people are wrong. I don't know who they are. And, but no one should ever tell you watch Morbius over either Black Panther movie at the end of the day. Wakanda Forever is also a very unique movie. It's not a normal superhero movie, but it's on Disney Plus. You can also catch it in the IMAX format edition. But one of the behind the scenes thing, I think, is Disney's Assembled is on Disney Plus as well now for this movie. Namor's wings can grow back. They've confirmed that on his legs. Like, whenever Shuri cut him off, like, that's not a permanent, I guess, disfiguration for him. It's just a temporary scarring, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, not too surprised about that. I'm sure it could be. I mean, we saw these underwater creatures miraculously survive from being shot and stabbed if they just fell back in the water. So yeah, not too far fetched to think his little ankle wings could grow back.
Right, and one of the things about that movie that never was answered, like whenever Okoye took out the I guess the Atlanteans on the bridge and she just whistled them back to life. I'm like, how did that happen? How did she just whistle these people back to life? But
you know what I mean, we've already reviewed this movie, but I feel like the longer it sits with me, the less I realize I enjoyed it. I don't think it's not a bad movie. I just did not really enjoy it.
Well, it's not like every other movie we've watched, right? There's a couple action scenes, but it is literally a movie about trauma and loss and how to cope with that, rather than a normal superhero movie. So I can't really fault it, but I'm very excited to get back into the theaters to see Ant-Man this weekend. Grow to a huge size and just punch the fuck out of some buildings. Literally just destroy buildings and fight a very large-headed man in a small floating suit, with MODOK. So I'm like, let's get back to some of this stuff. I like the weird instead of the down-to-earth stuff. But anyway,
yeah. Jonathan Major's muscles will dazzle me, I'm sure.
That's right. If you know what, you can watch Creed, the third Creed movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving gears, Avengers Secret Wars. This is on the rumor plate this week. I thought it was really cool. But apparently every movie between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars will be set on a different quote-unquote Battle World style planet from the comic books that was in 2015. And that's why they haven't announced literally any movie between King Dynasty and Secret Wars yet, because they're holding this these titles hostage because they don't want to reveal that yet.
Yeah, I'm just wow. I mean, that would be pretty crazy.
That'd be bold.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? If we adhere to this analogy that the MCU is just one really big, expensive TV show, right? If you're going to adapt, Secret Wars into episodic stylings, right? You would need, this build up, right, between these different these big battles. So yeah, that could be cool.
And I think one of the things that we've not seen in Phase 4, simply because it's essentially a new Phase 1, right, is there's no consequences of these movies yet, right? They're all very standalone. Nothing is compiling or compounding on each other in Phase 4. And I think that would be fantastic if Phase 6 was entirely the result of the multiverse crashing and Kang's meddling and all this other crazy shit going on. And like, oh, here are your consequences finally. Like we built up to them slowly rather than just giving them to you all at once. With that. And on the other note of that is that Secret Wars is supposedly going to be so big, there are very, very early talks to split this into 2 movies. But my guess is the script isn't done yet. So like they're waiting to see what the script's going to be.
I do have to say, I am glad that that Iger is back and kind of reorganizing the Walt Disney Company and kind of giving the power back to the creators, because there's a lot of really big stuff coming in the MCU, right? There's a lot of machinations, right? And it feels like the Chapek dynasty wouldn't really be able to output a good Kang dynasty, right? So hopefully the synergy machine kind of like kicks back up and everything's good again.
Yeah, and some of that MCU stuff, the dates were literally changed like a week after they announced them, right? Remember they were like, oh, we're gonna do Avengers Secret Wars in November. Like, never mind, we'll do it in May. It feels like somebody above Feige was like, hey, here are the dates you have to hit, otherwise don't even bother. Like, you need to do these release dates. And now it seems like maybe like, hey, we can take some time. We can give you an extra 6 months to a year if you're going to tell the better story, right? And do things the right way. And Secret Wars being like, it would be wild to have Avengers 3 years in a row. But if that's going to help Secret Wars actually make sense to everybody and not rush it into one movie, I'm all for this. Like, do it. Just go ahead and pull the trigger and say, we have bitten off more than we can chew, and we're going to do this in 3 movies. I don't think anyone's really going to complain about not having Avengers movies for 10 years and then having three every year in a row, right? Like, I think that's going to be fine at the end of the day. But anyway, Secret Wars, absolutely fantastic comic book run, written by Jonathan Hickman, starts with Avengers and New Avengers, runs through a bunch, recommend it to anybody, and you can pick all those up as well. Let's jump in a little bit about Doctor Strange. I know this movie's coming up on, a year old almost, I believe in March or May.
Yeah.
But the third movie is rumored, Doctor Strange 3, to take place before Avengers Secret Wars. So the end of that movie left with him and Clea running off to fight some incursions, which does kick off Secret Wars in the comic book. So I would not doubt this being the case at all, right? Like, don't take, was it 2016 to 2022, 6 years to do one movie? You can like take 2 to 3 and do your third movie with me.
Yeah, I wonder if Sam Raimi will return, or maybe they'll kind of do the classic kind of like tap a younger director, maybe, so you can kind of like rein them in, and this is what we need to do because now we're at a point with this third Strange movie where we need to fit a puzzle piece right, to make these subsequent movies work. So yeah, I'll be curious, but I don't, because originally they brought Raimi in as like a fixer, right? The production was kind of left in the lurch, so they needed like a professional to come in and play cleanup.
Well, and at the same time, like, well, the Derek, what's his name? Was it Derek something?
Dickerson? Scott Dickerson?
Scott Dickinson, maybe? Scott Derrickson.
Derrickson. We were around.
Yeah, we were there. He left before production, right? Because he's like, hey, I'm going to do my own stuff, and that's fine. But like, when you lose someone on very anticipated sequel, you're like, hey, we need someone with a big name, right? Who has vision and did Spider-Man, obviously bring him in here. So I think if you're going to go down this route with, hey, we need Doctor Strange to fight incursions and do stuff for Secret Wars, possibly on other planets, I don't think Sam Raimi is your guy, right? I think Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had that Wanda factor, which leaned into the horror aspect that he did. But I don't think Sam Raimi could, like, short of him doing, well, did he do like Oz the Great and Powerful, which was like some weird colorful movie? I don't think he could do Doctor Strange 3 on a different planet, man. I agree with your take on like maybe a young director or like, I wouldn't say like a Tim Burton, but like a visionary, someone who's like been out there and done like, crazy otherworldly science fiction stuff and bring them into the play. So I don't know, getting rumor that this is happening. I wouldn't doubt it, right? Benedict Cumberbatch, he's a great actor. I don't think he's in high demand as he was during his Sherlock era, right? When he was doing Sherlock and Star Trek. So, get him while the getting's good. Let's move this trilogy out. Let's get him going. Lastly here, last bit of news is X-Men 97, the cartoon. Supposedly, the show will rumoredly last 2 seasons, Mike, at least, minimum. And I'm going to guess that this is the animation production schedule again, right? They give them a batch, 2 orders, right? 1 full list of 2 seasons of episodes, do all the voice, do all the animation. Let's see where it goes and do it again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just also just streaming in general, right? We've seen tons of things just like split into 2 parts, but categorize them as seasons or whatever you want to do. But also, possibly, depending on how it was written out, second seasons of animated shows could theoretically be cheaper, right? You got to do all this pre-production, right, to get all your models and rigs and everything set up and all your pipelines ready. And, once that happens, your second season is a little bit easier. But it's nice to see we'll be getting at least 2 seasons.
Yeah. And my guess is, how film production works is probably the same way animation structure works. They're not doing this chronologically, right? They're not making episode 1 in order and then doing episode 2. They're like, hey, here are the scenes that involve Beast. Let's do all them. And then here are the Gambit scenes and so on and so forth. I don't know how they're going to schedule that, but like you said, they're probably making all of both seasons, and they probably easier to write them all, cheaper as well, right? And just do them all and get them knocked out and have them waiting in the wings as they get done. So absolutely, totally fine with this. Very, very excited to return to the animated X-Men world along the way. That's the show. Again, this was actually went along a little longer than I thought it would because we didn't have any front-loaded talk of this. I think a call out here, Mike, is number 1. The Bad Batch is halfway through. There were 2 episodes this week, and The Last of Us is halfway through with episode 5 dropping on Friday. So a lot of good content out there for people to be watching, and we can talk more about that next week or the week after. Who knows? Next week's Ant-Man review. We got a lot to cover in a little bit of time. But people know what you're up to, what you're doing in the meantime. Where can they find you at, bub?
Yeah, find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, people want to find you. Where are you? Find
me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN. I think I'm on there. I think I logged in earlier. Maybe. Instagram, Valdan87. And you can always check us out, or check me out. Find me on Superhero Slate every week. People want to know about the show, especially our Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania review we're doing next week. Let's talk about Kang's proper introduction to you. Where can you get all them goodies at?
Yeah, well, I'll keep this short and sweet for everybody so they can get on with their post-Super Bowl week. If you're in Kansas City, you might be preparing for a parade, so maybe less podcast is better for you. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. Like us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Reach out, let us know what your favorite commercial was, what your favorite trailer was, what did you like the best about the night, what did you think stunk the most about the night. Let us know, and we love our super fans as well. So if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's the fastest I've ever heard you do that.
Woo!
And I applaud you for that, Mike. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.